I only have one message to give you. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care what you call me. I do care what you do with this information because it is important to our survival as a species.
So I wanted to make this video today because I read this article off Zero Hedge. It's entitled Landlords Avoid Confrontation with Uber of Evictions. That's the nickname being applied to this company called Civil. Unemployment is at a record high, and many cannot or simply are not paying their rent and mortgages. We are being contracted by frustrated property owners and banks to secure foreclosed residential properties. That was a quote from the company named Civil. It's a new startup company placing Craigslist ads across the country for gig workers to evict those who have fallen behind on rent during the pandemic, which it's not. It's not a pandemic. You know that by now. Who can earn up to $125 an hour for their services. Be hired as an eviction crew, reads another ad. It's messed up that there will be struggling working class people who will be drawn to gigs like furniture hauling or process serving for a company like Civil, evicting fellow working class people from their homes so that they themselves can make rent. The reason why I wanted to cover this article is because it ties into a lot of the other things I've been talking about. I did cover the UN posting a job opening looking for disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration officers out of New York. Right around when the pandemic, quote unquote, started in December, and then they closed the job opening in February of this year. This is off the UN's own website, careers.un.org. It's real. There's no debate. This happened, and you have to admit this happened. Now, it's important because disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration can only mean one thing: disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration. And they're going to have to hire people to do it. And if you dangle a carrot in front of a bunch of desperate people's faces, they will sell their fellow man out in a heartbeat as long as they'll be all right, which is essentially what this article was talking about with this company who wants to go around and kick people out of their houses because the landlords don't want to do it face to face, so they want to hire someone else to do it for them. You know, it's like a boss who doesn't want to fire someone because he's a pussy. It's like, well, I'll have someone else do it, but they want to disarm, demobilize, and reintegrate you. You can read this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But this is important because if you look at this document right here, which a lot of you probably have seen, it's called the Internment and Resettlement Operations, Reintegration, Resettlement. So what this is this is a field manual published in February 2010 from the U.S. Army, and it basically talks about different scenarios, like natural disasters and things like that, where the U.S. military might be used to relocate dislocated civilians, prisoners of war, set up, camps, whatever it is that happens. This is like a field manual, an instruction manual that they would use. So when you type in the word disaster, I scroll down, it says dislocated civilians. The term dislocated civilian is a broad term that includes a displaced person, an evacuee, an expellee, an internally displaced person, a migrant, a refugee, or a stateless person. DCs are individuals who leave their homes for various reasons, like being forced out probably, right? Such as armed conflict or a natural disaster, and whose movement and physical presence can hinder military operations. They most likely require some degree of aid, such as medicine, food, shelter, or clothing. DCs may not be native to the area or to the country in which they reside. The following DC subcategories are also defined in JP 3-57. And remember, guys, during Hurricane Katrina, what did they do? They went door to door, they took people's guns, they beat the shit out of them, and forced them onto a bus into a FEMA camp. That's what happened. That's not up for debate either. That's what's going to happen again. And they're going to use COVID as a guise. Displaced person. A displaced person is a civilian who is involuntarily outside the national boundaries of his or her country. Displaced persons may have been dislocated because of a political, geographical, environmental, or threat situation. Evacuee. An evacuee is a civilian removed from a place of residence by military direction for reasons of personal security or the requirements of the military situation. Let me zoom in a little bit. Probably easier to see, huh? An expellee. An expellee is a civilian outside the boundaries of the country of his or her nationality or ethnic origin who is being forcibly repatriated to that country or to a third country for political or other purposes. Internally displaced person. An internally displaced person is any person who has left their residence by reason of real or imagined danger, It's funny they say that, but has not left the territory of their own country. Internally displaced persons may have been forced to flee their homes for the same reasons as refugees, but have not crossed an internationally recognized border. Think being displaced from your home because you can't pay rent and they're sending people to pull you out by force, right? Where are you going to go? If you don't have money to pay for another apartment or house, where are you going to go? They're likely going to set up these things called resettlement centers. You know what I mean? Like, think homeless shelters, but on a way larger scale. That's coming. If they can't force you into isolation by claiming you have COVID and forcing you to do it, then they're going to do it another way, which is probably what they'll do with weather weapons and, fake EMP attacks and attacks on our power grid, whatever in general. But they're going to do all this stuff probably this winter and in the next 5 years because the culling has started. But yeah, you can take this whole document, or a field manual rather, is pretty long, 326 pages, so I'm not gonna get into a lot of it, but yeah, check this out. You can download it for free. So like I said, they're looking for, or we're looking for, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration officers. Landlords are hiring companies to pull people out of their house. People are going to be displaced. Something's going to happen. Also, if you haven't read this before, it's also very revealing, and you should check it out. You can get it for free. It's called Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. 2025 seems to be a year that they're basically planning to have everything done by. And what I mean by done is, like, they want to have the New World Order, the One World Currency, all that stuff done by 2025, and major depopulation. I already covered that in my other video if you want to go check it out. This is the Table 1 Operational Capabilities Matrix. This is what they would want to control the weather for. So let me zoom in a little bit. So they want to degrade enemy forces. They want to flood lines of communication, reduce PGM, REC effectiveness, decrease comfort level morale, deny operations, storm enhancement. Think hurricanes. Maybe Hurricane Katrina was a beta test for one of their weather weapons. And then they wanted to see, hey, can we go around and disarm people? Let's see if we can force them into camps. Now this will probably be on a larger scale. Precipitation denial. They can induce a drought. They can, destroy crops with too much water. What's been happening? We've had record crop destruction in the last, couple of years, right? And they're saying there's going to be major disruptions to the food chain, our food supply chain, because of COVID, right? All of this is fake. They're doing it. It's engineered. And it's going to be multiple attacks on multiple fronts, and you have to be ready. Most of us are probably going to die. I don't even know if me talking about this or doing this is going to do anything, honestly, because most people are so stupid that they still think this is a real pandemic. They still think, oh, I got to wear a mask. And no, none of this is real. And you will find that out probably when it's already too late, when you're being rounded up into the, bus to get on, or to get on the bus. So yeah, read this. This is very damning. If you haven't read it, download it for free. Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. They can create floods. They can create hurricanes. It goes back to Operation Popeye during Vietnam, where they used cloud seeding with aluminum to get the Viet Cong out of their tunnels by flooding them. So, this is documented, proven. How do you know that Hurricane Katrina wasn't a beta test? How do you know it wasn't totally engineered to see how many people they could disarm, who would cooperate, what would happen? Just a small scale, you know what I mean? And this will be a larger scale. They're going to start kicking people out of their houses. People are going to have nowhere to go. They're not going to have money to get a new place. So where are they going to go? Where do you suppose those people are going to go? Government's probably going to start setting up relocation centers and camps. They're going to have people going around disarming people, forcing you to get a vaccine to get to the camp. And you're going to want food. They're going to have food. It's so engineered, controlled, and on its face that I don't even know how people don't see it. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. So yeah, check this article out. Like I said, download the U.S. Army Internment and Resettlement Operations Manual. Download the Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025 PDF. Yeah, I'm going to cut the video a little short. Don't want to keep rambling, but this is real, guys. This is real, and you need to pay attention, because at this point, we need all the people we can on our side. You're going to have a lot of imperfect allies, and we're not all going to agree on everything. But you need to wake up and you need to realize that this is not a real pandemic. This is all a guise to achieve other goals, and it's just a really good blanket cover. You know, Richie from Boston said it perfectly. He's like, yeah, the disease is so deadly, you have to get tested to know if you have it. You know, it's true. It has a 99.99999% survival rate, so you think it's probably about something else, right? Probably not about a virus. Probably about control. Probably about relocating people. Probably about destroying the economy, creating a new digital one world currency. Look into it. If you don't want to, that's on you.